Chapter 6, Lost in a Book. It happened so fast, Belle didn't even have time to blink. The beast's foot came down on the cake of soap. He skidded backward, arms windmilling. His other foot hit a bucket full of dirty water and launching it into the air. He fell against a bookcase. Wood splintered. The shelves broke. Books rained down, the mop snapped, and the bucket landed upside down on his head. There were a few seconds of shocked silence. Then Belle threw her own mop down. "Are you all right?" she cried. The beast sat up, looking this way and that, the bucket still on his head. Belle ran to him, knelt down, and pulled it off. He blinked up at her, bedraggled, shamefaced, and furious. Filthy water dripped from his fur. Without thinking, he shook himself vigorously. Belle, still on her knees, was so close to him that she got doused. "Oh," she cried. "Yuck!" The others got wet too. Cogsworth sputtered. Plumette shook her dripping feathers. Mrs. Potts and Chip made faces as beads of gray water rolled down their porcelain faces. And the beast growled. It was a low, frightening sound, a harbinger of yet another angry outburst. The smiling, playful master of a few moments ago was gone. In his place was an angry, embarrassed creature, desperate to recover his dignity. The servants sensed the coming storm. Lumiere hurried to avert it. He cleared his throat. Water was dripping down his face. Wisps of smoke were rising from his extinguished candles. He steepled his hands together, mustered a bright smile, and said, "You are incredible help, master. Invaluable. But I wonder if perhaps your time might be better spent studying the Roman Stoics, reacquainting yourself with ancient Persian poets, brushing up on the ancient Greek philosophers." The beast's growl deepened. He opened his mouth, ready to snap at Lumiere and the others, but before he could, another sound was heard, musical and tickling, except for the odd honk of snort. Just a sec. Just a second, if you please. Just trying to get the next pick. I like to have pictures when I'm reading, so just bringing up the next picture here. There's the picture. Another sound was heard, musical and tickling except for the odd honk or snort. It was Belle. She was sitting back on her heels, her hands on her knees, laughing her head off. The beast turned to her. "Stop it. Stop laughing at me," he snapped. Belle recoiled, taken aback his tone. "I'm not laughing at you," she retorted. "No," said the beast, acidically. "Well, you certainly aren't laughing with me." Belle shook her head. "You're right, I'm not. I'd like to laugh with you, but it's impossible unless you laugh," she said. a hint of irritation in her own voice now. "This is not funny, Belle." "Yes, it is." "No. One was hurt." "Oh, sorry." "Yes, it is. No one was hurt. We're all fine. Look at me. My hair's stuck to my head. I'm covered in dirty water. My clothes are wet. Everyone else looks awful, too," she said, gesturing at the servants. "And if you could have seen yourself skidding across the floor." She started to giggle again, but a snarl from the beast cut her off. Belle was very close to him, only inches away, so close that he couldn't hide his eyes from her as he usually did. She looked into them, expecting to see anger. Instead, she saw a painful vulnerability. "He thinks I'm being unkind," Belle thought. "That I'm making fun of him." An image flashed into her mind of his chambers and the destruction he'd wreaked within them. She remembered the sense of despair she'd felt in those rooms and the story Mrs. Potts had told her about the beast's childhood. His wounds were still deep, still raw. "Why do you care?" a voice inside her asked. "Did the beast care when he made your father a prisoner in this castle? Then made you one?" Belle did not answer the voice right away. Instead, she thought of her father. Once, when she was little, they had gone walking in the woods. They'd come across a vixen, her leg caught in a cruel steel trap. Belle's father had set about trying to free her, but the poor fox, made with pain and fear, had lunged at him. Over and over again he'd tried to help the suffering animal, and over again she'd attacked him. "Papa, stop," she had said finally. Cried, scared for him. "She's going to bite you." "Hush, Belle," he said. "The fox cannot change her nature, and I cannot change mine." Slowly, patiently, he persisted until finally the exhausted girl fox had sunk down on the ground. He'd been able to open the trap then and free her. "Who are you?" "Oh, no, sorry." "Why do you care?" the voice asked again. Belle answered it by reaching into her pocket. She'd stuffed a rag into it earlier, as she was gathering cleaning supplies. It was still dry. The wetness from her clothing had not yet seeped through to it. She pulled it out now and started to rub at the beast's wet face. Her touch was gentle, yet he flinched at it as if she'd struck him. "What are you doing?" he asked, and his voice uncertain now instead of angry. "What does it look like I'm doing?" "I'm wiping your face." "You don't need to. It's not necessary. I'm quite all right," he protested. "That's too rough." "Ow, stop. You're pulling my fur out. Be careful. That's my nose, you know." "Ow, ow. My ears are very tender." Belle persisted, ignoring his complaints. "Better?" she asked when she was done. "I suppose so, yes, somewhat," the beast replied, grudgingly. "But my coat's filthy and my shirt's soaked. I shall go to my bedroom to change, and then my study. I've been working on a translation of Epictetus. I must make some progress on it, you know. I can't be expected to dilly-dally here all day." He stood up, shook water from his paws, and walked to the doorway. He paused there for a few awkward seconds and cast a last longing glance around the library. He wishes he could stay here, Belle thought, with us. He'd rather mop a dirty floor than be alone in his chambers. Chap.6, fetch me some clean clothes, he bellowed. Belle heard the coat rack come clattering down the hall. He appeared in the doorway and did a double take at the sight of the beast. He pressed two of his hands to his skinny chest and threw the rest of them up in the air, distraught at the sight of his master's attire. Now, Chap.6, you mustn't overreact, the beast said. All messes, accidents, and catastrophes are to be blithely laughed off. He looked pointedly at Belle, or so I'm told. Chap.6 rushed the beast out of the library and off to his chambers, and Belle and the servants were left to themselves. Still kneeling, Belle stuffed the damp rag into her pocket, then started to pick up the books that had fallen to the floor when the beast crashed into the bookcase. Well, We'll have to find some empty shelves where we can put these volumes, she said to the servants. Has anyone seen any? No one replied. That's odd, Belle thought, turning to look at them. They were right there, standing stock still. Not one of them had budged since the beast had left the room. They gazed at the empty doorway as if in a daze. Plumette, Mrs. Potts. Is something wrong? Belle asked. Puzzled by their strange behavior, the master was angry, Lumiere started. But he didn't shout, Plumette finished, amazement in her voice. He didn't roar, added Cogsworth. Or break a single thing, said Mrs. Potts wonderingly. It must be because... She glanced at Lumiere, then Cogsworth, looking as if she'd said too much. Her words trailed away. Because of what? Belle eagerly asked, hoping she might learn something, anything that would help her understand why she was here. But Mrs. Potts disappointed her. She merely said, because he has to get back to his work. Frustration gripped Belle. She wanted to press her for more information, but she knew it would get her nowhere. Mrs. Potts was already back at the windows, steaming them clean. This always happened. The servants always found something to do or somewhere to be when she asked the wrong questions. Belle felt a crashing loneliness descend on her. The beast was gone, and the servants had all returned to their tasks. She suddenly missed her father terribly. Thinking about the time they discovered the fox on the trap had made her yearn for his company. If only she could talk to him, even if it was just for an hour, but she knew that was not going to happen. Not now, not ever. Refusing to give in to her feelings of hopelessness, Belle picked up half a dozen books off the floor and looked for a place to put them. she reminded herself that she was much better off than she had been a day ago. She had the beast library now. She might be lonely being a captive in a strange castle where it was always winter. Could make anyone feel lonely. But she wasn't alone. She had Shakespeare for company now. Molière, Dante, Rousseau. She would find out the truth behind her captivity. Maybe not today or tomorrow, but one day she would. And until then, she would take comfort in books, just as she always had. So, everybody, that is the end of chapter 6 of Lost in a Book. I hope you like it, and leave any likes, and feel free to subscribe, and stay tuned for chapter 7, and have a good rest of your day. Bye!